guys, welcome to Light on Ice blog. I'm Jose.
And I'm Liz.
And today we're going to be talking about our last blog post, The Power of Vulnerability. Being vulnerable is something we are all familiar with. It's a feeling like no other. It almost feels like being the only naked person in the room. And it's something we all struggle with for sure. You know, I still struggle with it. I know Liz struggles with it. And we're going to shed some light on it and really take back the power and shed some light on solutions and different perspectives on how to change that. But aside from that, there's also something that goes along with it, like just ego and, you know, being afraid of being judged, and then identifying. Right? Sometimes we identify with things. So I'll give a quick example of when I identified and how I feel vulnerable now. So I was, 20 years old, 21, and I bought the truck, like a brand new truck that I really, really wanted. And I used to dream of this truck, and not the trim model, just the what I could afford, right? So I just bought the truck. I used to work at the dealership, and I identified with it, and I felt like that put me above somebody. Yeah, I felt like it put me above people, which is wrong. And I felt like a whole different person, a whole different character. I felt like it added to my life, which was pretty nice, right? You have a brand new car. Anybody who has a brand new car loves it. And I identify with this thing. So I had it for 5 years. I just recently sold it. And I sold it because it wasn't smart for me to keep it. You know, it was starting to become high maintenance. It was starting to take away from my monthly income. It always was an expense that I loved it, so it didn't really hurt. But now I'm trying to invest and save and whatnot. Point of the story is I'm carless now. So from time to time I drive Liz's car, or I drive my dad's car, and that's really the only. I haven't not had a car since I started driving. So that's when I sold it. When I finally signed off the paperwork that I was selling it, I felt like my heart dropped. Because I was losing a sense of identity, and also what were people going to think? Did he repo the car? He probably couldn't afford it anymore. All that stuff came to mind, and it was bothering me. It was, aside from the fact that I was carless, it was just bothering me to think, what were people going to say? What were they going to think? You know, when I go out with my friends and I meet them somewhere, they're not going to see my car anymore. It's going to be weird. You know, if somebody asked me, hey, can you give me a ride somewhere? I don't have my car anymore. So I felt very vulnerable when I gave that up. But that's just something so small, so insignificant, something so stupid to really dwell on, you know, because at the end of the day, it is a material object. And we do that so much, you know, we value people's opinions so much. Over things that really matter, right? So I was focusing for a while more on the fact that I got rid of the truck, versus the fact that now I have more money to invest and save. And I was hung up on that for maybe about 2 days. But yeah, now I'm fine. And so it's also in social situations. It's also
not just material things.
Yeah, it's not just material things. It'll show up in many different ways. But I feel as if material objects, or having material things, is one of the ways we feel most vulnerable, right? If somebody has a new iPhone and you don't, you're like, my iPhone's like 3 years old.
And you're embarrassed.
And you're embarrassed to show it, which is ridiculous. It's stupid.
I think what we don't like about feeling vulnerable is that feeling of not feeling safe. Because that's how I perceive it. that's how I perceive vulnerability. When I'm vulnerable, I don't feel safe, and nobody likes to not feel safe. So as Jose was mentioning, that happens to me with my mom, and I feel like I can't be myself, or I feel like my words, the words that are going to come out of my mouth, aren't safe around my mom, because there's a lot of judgment. And I realized that, well, when I go visit her, I realized that I wasn't really being present, and that I'm not really present when I'm around her. And it's because I hold back so much, and I'm so stuck in my thoughts and like, what am I going to say now? That I don't enjoy the company. I don't enjoy my time with her. And the way I can fix that and better our relationship is by opening up and being vulnerable with her. And even if that doesn't make me feel safe, and even if I get judgment from her, talk about it and be open and tell her like, hey, I'm saying this and I feel vulnerable, but I want you to know. And if there's judgment, let her know like, thank you, I understand your position, but this is my position. So I feel like on the other side of vulnerability, there's openness.
Yeah.
There's openness, and even though at that moment you feel scared, you feel judged, once you cross that bridge, you'll gain confidence. Yeah, control. You'll gain confidence.
Yeah, you know, I think in the blog post we definitely talked about how there's people who bake cakes that are freaking awesome. They know they're awesome, but yet are afraid to sell them or to share them. Maybe that's not what they want to do, but for the people who do want to sell their product, who do want to put themselves out there, they should. They should, because at the end of the day, you have to be happy with what you do. You have to love what you do, and you have to
love yourself.
Yeah, and you have to be okay with the naysayers as well, right? There's always going to be naysayers, right? So for us, this is being vulnerable. Definitely. I feel for me personally, this is a bit easier than writing, which is why I focus so much on the writing portion. I can talk for hours, and that's not an issue. You know, I talk for a living, so that's no problem at all. But this does feel
weird.
Yeah, it feels so weird. It feels so weird.
Exposing yourself.
Yeah, it just feels like you're exposing.
And then the thoughts come to mind like, oh my gosh, is it good? Is it not good? Are people gonna like it? Are people not gonna like it? And that shouldn't matter. That doesn't matter. What should matter is that we like it. We're happy doing what we're doing, and that shows through the camera.
Right. And then I feel like our message is positive, so that's why that's kind of like what I fall back on, right? Like, but it is a weird feeling because you put it up on YouTube or something, and
it's new to us.
Can watch it.
And it's new to us, and I think the more and more and more you do it, it becomes more comfortable.
Yeah. For sure.
So it's just, again, like taking that step, like crossing that bridge, and then everything will be easier after that. And now that you said something, I was even remembering like how I always tell you that I get nervous. So I'm new to the whole cooking situation.
Yeah.
And I get nervous when like somebody else has to try my food, like his mom that's been cooking for years, or my mom that's been cooking for years. I don't think I've ever let my mom try anything I make. And it's just because I get so nervous, like, oh my god, are they gonna like my food? What are they gonna think? And that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, and something as small as like, what are they gonna think of my food makes me feel vulnerable. There's so many other bigger things that we stop ourselves from doing because they make us feel vulnerable. And that can be, like he was saying, baking a cake and selling it, starting your business,
cutting hair,
auditioning,
just whatever. Singing, if you want to audition, sing, if you want to be a stand-up comedian. The reason why we made this in the first place is because the last one was follow your heart, right? And the two go hand in hand, right? It's almost as if you decide when you make the decision to follow your heart, you're also making the decision to be vulnerable. Yeah. You know, when you do decide to take a step forward in that direction, you're also putting yourself out there. You're gonna put yourself out there, and you're gonna come across some things you're not so comfortable with. But that's a positive thing. That's, you know, it's seen as a weakness.
Stepping out of your comfort zone,
it's stepping
and
out
that
of your
allows
comfort
you to
zone,
grow
yeah.
as a person,
Yeah.
and gain more confidence in yourself. And like,
Yeah.
hey, I accomplished that. I did that. Like, what else can I do? It opens
Right.
doors for you. It opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, yeah. It's really an empowering feeling when you control the vulnerability, right? When you realize that you're in control, nothing can stop you. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing's gonna stop you because you control it. You literally control it. The problem is we let the vulnerabilities, the fears stop us, control us, and that's where the issue is. And that's when we're not fulfilled. That's when we're not happy. But if you manage and learn to manage it, it's
You can use it to your advantage.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful tool. And it's, you know, this is something that I would always tell Liz, you know, one of my favorite qualities about her was that she is vulnerable by far. That's like one of the things, I think that's why we connected so much, because I felt I was able to expose myself to her, and she was able to expose herself to me, and it was just like this, like, imperfect, perfect connection where we saw right through each other, and we knew who we were as people. And a lot of people struggle with that. You know, a lot of people have mainly we connected because there was no judgment there, but there's a lot of people who struggle with that, who can't be themselves. And I was able to be myself with Liz, and that helped me be vulnerable with my parents. You know, I can have these really deep conversations with my dad or with my mom, and, you know, talk about things like, hey, how are you gonna handle death? Like, what's that thought like behind your head? You know, or how am I gonna handle death? Like, my thoughts for when you die, how am I gonna handle that? And I had these conversations with my parents, which are amazing. You know, they're amazing because it's all out on the table. It's all out on the table, and vulnerability comes out, right? It's like, shit, the truth is I'm fucking scared of losing you guys, or the truth is I don't know how I'm gonna handle that. And we have these conversations that otherwise we wouldn't have, you know, where well, life goes on, whatever, etc. Or, hey, they're scared, or this is how they see it. You know, these conversations would have never taken place if I didn't start practicing vulnerability at a young age. And vulnerability, as Liz mentioned too, is it's like a shell, right? It's like this thing we shelter. It's like a shell we build. We put up this wall, and we're afraid to be hurt, right? There's people who feel vulnerable jumping back into a relationship because their last relationship didn't work, or it was, you know, it was a painful ending, whatever it was. People were hurt, so people are afraid to do things again. Go through that pain. You got to go through that pain first in order to heal. Healing is on the other end of that. And there's a lot of people who simply, you know, shut themselves off, and it's a shame, you know. And hopefully this video is a reminder to try things again. Quit your job. Go audition. Start dating again. You know, life's too short to be holding ourselves back. It really is.
It's okay to feel vulnerable.
It
we
really
all feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's not only you, it's every single one of us.
It's a human thing. It's just a human. What was that example you were telling me about? The shirts, with the shirts.
The fitting room?
Yeah.
I heard this really cool... It was part of a podcast, but they were explaining that one of this person's sister worked in like a clothing store.
Yeah.
And she worked in the fitting room, in the women's fitting room, and like girls would go try on their shirts, blah blah blah, and like she would hear them as they were like trying on their shirts talk to themselves, and like they would say things like, "Oh, this shirt looks hideous on me. This color doesn't go with me." And when she would hear that, like she would scream to them from the outside, like, "Do you remember the color of my shirt?" And they never did. They were so this shows that when you're in there in the fitting room trying your clothes on, you're so worried about, oh my god, what are people going to think about this color? the shirt doesn't go with me. But in
Yeah.
reality, like, nobody pays attention to that. They didn't
Nobody.
remember the color of the shirt
The
of the
lady was
girl
wearing.
that was right in front of them in the fitting room. Like, they
Right.
passed right in front of her. They didn't remember that.
Right.
And we're so worried about what are people going to think of us that
Yeah.
we forget about ourselves and what we truly want and
Yeah.
what we want out of our lives and what we want to do. And even if the green doesn't go with me, it looks horrible on me. Who cares? If I want to wear green, why shouldn't I? Just because what are they going to say? Who cares? Nobody
Yeah.
cares. Nobody's watching you.
Right.
Just do what makes you happy. Even if you think you look a fool, you're acting a fool, do whatever makes your heart
Right.
happy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that story reminded me of when I was just growing up, you know, and my mindset was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong. And it's like, who's they?
Who's them?
Like, who is they? The only person I should be competing with is myself. You know, the only person that should be improving is myself for myself. There's nobody else I have to prove
Exactly.
wrong. There's nobody else I got to do things for. Did I even really want a truck? Like, that's another thought that comes to my mind. Like, did I really want that, or did I think I was gonna look a certain way driving it, and that's what I was really after? Was that a shell? Right?
I heard this really good quote that I love, and it says, like, if you were the last person on earth and there was no one left to impress, who would you really be?
Yeah.
And when I heard that, it just, like, how much of the
Yeah.
things we do is because of all that external noise we hear in our society and our families and the TV and media. Like,
Yeah.
how much of what we do is because of that and not because we
lot of
truly
it.
want to do it. Yeah.
A lot of it. It's probably most of it, you know. People go to school to finish a curriculum they don't want to even be in because it pays, because their parent thinks it pays, because their parents are gonna say, hey, my son graduated from UCLA, but now the person who graduated
It's not
isn't even happy. Is not happy. They just sign themselves up for something they're not gonna be happy for, which is really the wrong approach. You know,
Yeah.
it's really the wrong approach. But even if that does happen, there's a way out, right? You can always change it. It's never too late to change it, right? You can always just improve. You can always switch careers. It doesn't matter. You can always go back to school.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. And, you know, once again, just people, put yourself out there. You know, you have to just shoot for what you really want to do. Forget what everybody's going to think. Forget what everybody's going to say. Bad comments are going to happen. And then hopefully you're surrounded by loving people who just send you good energy all the time and really want what's best for you. And when that happens, you know, those are the people you should hang out with. Those are the people you should surround yourselves with. People who truly love you and truly support you and wish you the best. Those are the people that you should be around. And yeah, guys, I mean, we've also talked about it. We're going to make a video for that blog post. We haven't made a video for it, but we talked about tuning into frequencies, energy, and vibrations, and what those are, how to use them, and how they're everywhere. And, you know, vulnerability is definitely a frequency. It's a frequency, and this is something we have to, you know, be able to tap into. And then it's also something we should be not. It should be something we're not stuck on. We were talking about this maybe like 2 days ago, and I was mentioning to Liz, like, how does it work? Like, does vulnerability become insecurity, and does insecurity become vulnerability? I was confused about that, and she said, well, I guess it works both ways, and it's true, right? It's all about your attitude and how you go about your vulnerabilities, right? If you have a positive attitude and you're insecure, your insecurities become vulnerabilities, and vulnerabilities you can strengthen, you can work on. If it's vice versa, if you have a bad attitude and you're a vulnerable person and you don't help yourself, then those vulnerabilities become insecurities, and then it's harder for you to do things and maneuver through life. You know, put yourself out there, try your best, forget what everybody's going to say. Don't be afraid to expose yourself. That's really where the beauty is. If you can expose yourself, that's where the beauty is, you know. It's something a lot of people struggle with and can't even do. So if you can, and if you are vulnerable, if you wear your heart on your sleeve, congratulations. Like, really, congratulations. That's an amazing feat. I feel Liz is for sure my soulmate, and I would have never even batted an eye if she wasn't as vulnerable as she was. You know, it was really that caught my attention and really where we connected. So the simple fact that she wore her heart on her sleeve, it was it was not even a deciding factor. It was just like, oh my God, her too, right? It was like this, like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. So wear your heart on your sleeve. Fuck it, you know, you're gonna attract the right person. Just be
the right
you.
situation.
Yeah, just
the right
everything. The right job, the right everything. You know, just follow your heart. If where your heart's telling you is gonna lead to vulnerability, do that. Don't be afraid to step into that. You know.
I think we're gonna leave it off there.
Yeah, I think that's concluding, guys, the video. Appreciate the support, the love. We promise to make it better with time, and you know, we'll try to film them
once a week.
Once a week for sure. That's yet to be figured out. Yeah, thank you guys. Once again, I'm Jose.
And I'm Liz.
And welcome to Light on Ice. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.